Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unabashedly Resolute. We are sitting out at Whipsnade Farm. Those of you who know C.S. Lewis, that is an homage to him. Sitting here smoking my... What kind of pipe?
Eagle pipe. American bald eagle.
The American emblem. An eagle with grain on one side and arrows in the other. I'm joined today by the incomparable Eliana Tazita Mullins, the extraordinary 11-year-old, who has been in my life for over a decade, just turned 11. So I wanted to ask her some questions today and get her unfiltered take on some things. So, what's your education like? What's your school like?
I'm homeschooled at Mullins Academy, and my teacher is a great teacher. His name is,
I'm not fishing for compliments. I just ask her, what kind of schooling is it?
There's, most schools don't go with logic class, like, this school actually teaches logic.
Okay. Explain to people what's involved in a logic class.
Usually it gets started with somebody asks a dumb question, and then Daddy goes ahead and just like, now think about that. Why would you ask that if it's right there in front of you? And so then we start talking about logic, and then usually Alex and I, my brother, wants to get on to a different subject, but then we just get in logic, and we start talking about it and breaking it down and how to think and what to think about. And then he says there's always gonna be distractions in life. Like, this logic class isn't just in school, everybody. It's also in the car, and when we're standing in line for something or anything. In the car, we also we did a couple days ago. We were saying, we were talking about something where Daddy was like, there's gonna be all, like, the American flag he was taking, for instance. He said that the American flag, it has like a million facts about it. Yeah, it has a bunch of facts, infinite amount of facts, and that in life there's going to be an infinite amount of facts about anything, and we have to discern what is the most appropriate to take with us. Like, if we're packing a bag, we have to discern what is going to be what is our essentials, what we need, and what we're going to have to pack up for in life in our brain.
So Sherlock Holmes calls this the brain attic. It's a brain attic. And what that means is your brain only has a certain amount of... It has finite space, in a sense, in what you can actually recall. Your brain has an infinite amount of space, but your recall... There's an infinite amount of time and bandwidth at which you can recall information and have it readily available. And so what I try to teach the kids is that the way you create the equation determines the outcome, right, Eliana? Mm-hmm. So the facts. So explain what we're talking about with facts and math problems and logic.
So first if you're talking about math, then something like that would be like, if you have the right numbers, you'll get the right answer, but if you don't have the right numbers, you won't have the right answer. And so,
what if you had them in the wrong place?
Well,
the numbers in the wrong place.
Then you still, like, that'd be if you had the numbers in the wrong place, that would be equal to you have everything going and too much stuff going. And if that happens, then you just completely freak out.
Right. So, what is thinking to you? What does it mean to think? 'Cause you're 11 now, and I have watched your intelligence, your potential be reached, and I've watched it be stymied. But I have seen, I can tell when you've gained a little bit more consciousness and you're able to articulate things a little better. And I see that progression in you, but I want to know for you, what does it mean? What does thinking mean to you? Here's an issue, here's a problem. What does it mean for you to think about it?
To think about it doesn't just mean to give it some attention, but you also said it takes time. You think about what would happen if you did this thing, or you think about you think about what's going to happen, and you think about thinking sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you forgot what it's called. Metacognition, and they teach you this in school too. Reasoning, more or less reasoning.
So you have a thought pops into your brain. What do you do with that thought when it pops into your brain? Could be about anything, about ballet. What do you do?
Usually when something pops up in my head, I just think, this seems like a good thought. Let me take it.
Mm-hmm. Is that thinking?
No.
Okay. Let's say somebody comes and says, Eliana, who made God? What is thinking in that question? What do you start doing?
You start thinking how to tell them and show them the truth.
Do you have the truth?
That's when you start thinking that.
Yeah. So, what is required to think? What do you have to be willing to do in order to think? You have to be willing to
Be challenged.
be challenged. Very
oh,
good.
I'm on the right track now. When you be challenged, that's when you can actually show them. That's when, if you're challenged and it survives through that, then you can be. If you can be challenged, then you actually have the right to tell somebody, no, you're wrong, or explain something. But if you can't, if some people, I know some people that don't like to be challenged, and they don't want anybody to tell them anything. They ignore the facts, and they ignore the facts, and if you ignore the facts, then you know that you're incompetent of proving your point. But unless you let somebody tell you, no, this is wrong, and then you say, I think this is right because ... then you can actually tell them that. Because that means if you don't let somebody challenge you, then they're gonna know that you don't know what you're talking about. And so that's why you have to let them challenge you, because you are going to be known as the person that doesn't want any information because you are so closed-minded.
So, not only do you have to be willing to be challenged to think, you have to be willing to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
Well,
when you go into an argument, you have a strong position, but you have to realize that even though your position is strong, you might be
wrong. You have to take yourself off the pedestal for a minute and
Ooh.
think. You step back and think, well, how can I prove myself wrong? And then you step back and say, well, here's this one little hole. Let me see if I can prove myself wrong even more. And if you can't, then you start letting yourself get challenged by other people. Like it's like not peer pressure. Like when you're writing when you're writing an article, you do drafts, and when you draft it, you first look, did I write this wrong by yourself? And then you have someone else look at it, and then you publish it or something. And
that is a perfect analogy.
thanks.
Very good. Now, I'm going to tell our listeners, just so you don't think I'm lying, I have not coached her what to say. I didn't know what she was going to say. I have no clue.
I just came running to write on my computer, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah, so because I'm actually writing about thinking. I'm turning Unabashedly Resolute Rethinking Thinking series into a book. And into like a book that follows along the class so that people can actually have a book. And when we're taking the class, they'll know what stuff we're going to be talking about. And it can hopefully further the conversation. And so I thought, well, who better than one of my pupils to sit here and discuss this? Because we've been in logic training for how many years? 10?
Yeah,
You weren't thinking logically at 1 year old, so.
probably more like 5, not 5 years. Probably more like 5 years, actually.
So yes, and Eliana is 6 and 7 years old. She has a depth on her that is unassuming. You don't think that she's going to go there, and then suddenly she has these brilliant questions that she asks, and the way her mind works is fantastic. So it is my job to stay ahead of her in all things. That's why I said that God sent me to Oxford so I could keep up with my daughter. No, it's fantastic. I really like the way you put that with the drafts.
Thank you.
For submission. That was a perfect. I think it was.
That's just the way my brain works. It makes sense for me to have an analogy.
Well, yes, because who else spoke in analogies and parables?
Jesus.
Yeah, and he's a pretty smart guy.
Like in The Chosen, when Matthew's just like, you all speak in symbols and things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for right now. But we'll get Tizzy, as I call her, here. Oh, she doesn't like that. Never mind. Forget I said that. Well, so let me rephrase that. We will get Eliana back on here because that has a nice polished sound to it. Eliana
T. Mullins. Thank you. Good night.
Eliana. And so we'll get her back on here. And who knows, she may even do her own podcast one day talking about things that are important to her. Because she has a voice and she demands to be heard.
I might do a talk show.
There you go. Be like Candace O.
Uh-huh.
All right, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you guys so much. This is Wes Mullins out of Bachelor Resolute and
Eliana T. Mullins.
Eliana T. Mullins. She is, wow, she has the name and everything ready to go. Look out, folks. She'll be taking over your airwaves coming shortly. You guys have a good night.
Good night.